We are live. Good morning, everyone. My name's Paul Bursey. This is healthierlife.tv, I think. And also present is my co-presenter.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Warren Connolly coming to you from a fairly sunny Santander in Hungary.
Fantastic.
I trust everyone had a beautiful weekend.
Oh, well, I'm really glad about that. So anyway, we have a special guest.
We do
Kristina,
indeed.
you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Kristina Jatiova. I am coming to you from, quite sunny today, UK. I live in Essex, and thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. Absolutely. Now, today's headline is eat local, eat seasonal, and eat raw. And I'm not an expert in any of those. And that's why we invited you, because I knew you're an expert, you see, in these subjects. So let me start with just one question. What does it mean to eat local?
Well, so, when we truly consider, when we go back 50 or 100 years ago, I think there wasn't such a abundance of supermarkets around us and abundance of foods from all around the world. So to answer the question, really, what does it mean to eat local? Really to eat everything what grows locally. So I would say within 100 miles radius.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that might be, now it's winter, so there's going to be abundance of winter squashes, potatoes. We just finished actually the summer season. There was plenty of the berries and some beautiful asparagus and what is the name? Like zucchinis and this kind of seasonal beautiful vegetables. Now we have abundance of apples, plums. So I am actually talking about local as per really around me, 100 miles, within 100 miles radius. For each and every country, obviously, there's going to be some different fruits and vegetables on the list, purely because we have the climate a little bit cooler. Exotic countries, perhaps like, South America or in African countries, South Africa, they're going to have something completely different on the list. So really, local means anywhere within 100 miles, or we can even go to kilometers radius around you. So what grows around.
I don't think I'd travel 100 miles to get food, but I'm sure it depends on your lifestyle, I think.
That is not about, it doesn't really mean that you have to travel 100 miles. It's just like where it grows.
Sometimes the farmers have to travel to you to come and sell their foods to you.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
So do you use local farmers markets?
Yes, so I think the local farmers markets, that's the perfect solution, really. First of all, we support the local farmers and the community where we actually grow and live in. I personally do use a local farmers market, which are 23 miles away. So I actually go, for example, for my eggs, 23 miles there, 23 miles back. The local markets are perfect for me for greens and fruits which are in the season. When I used to live in central London, it was a little bit easier, more accessible, because over there local markets are really just kind of down the road. Over here, because I'm more in a countryside now, I have to travel to them. So answer the question, yes, I do. And I think everybody should, if they just can, because that's the way how we really can support the local farmers who are not subsidized by the government, instead of rather than supporting the supermarkets where you can find organic foods. And for example, in one of the stores, I'm not going to be mentioning names actually, in UK, we do have also the local farmers produce. So they're selling the British produce. Still yet there needs to go the profit to the supermarket. So why not rather to just really take your time, go and visit the farmer's market and just cut the middleman and give that money to the person who actually deserves it, who looks after their vegetables, who grows them, perhaps with love, hopefully, who caring of. And you actually can chat with them, and they're most of the time really beautiful, warm-hearted people who are gonna talk to you more about the variety of the foods, fruits, vegetables, whatever they actually grow. So when it comes in regards to meat, I buy online from the farms, from regenerative farms. When I used to live in London, central London, I used to buy on farmers market, but now it's a little bit more tricky. So we do have the nearest farm. I think it's 10 miles from us as well. So occasionally we go there, but most of the time it's much cheaper when we buy in bulk. We order it online, and really it does last us for about 6 weeks. So these days, these services are actually available, which is, I think, greatly also affordable, and really, it's comfortable, isn't it? So you get it delivered to your doors.
Isn't it ironic that you live in the countryside, but you got to travel closer to the city to get to the farmers market?
Yes, and I'm not really saying that it's closer to the city. It's actually more further to the countryside.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow,
Because the farms are kind of spread it around. I have not been on a local farmers market in a city since. That's for sure. You don't even want to do that, pretty much.
No,
it's not necessary. You don't want to get
not worth traveling into London for that. No, definitely.
Yes.
But can you just allude for the benefit of the viewers as to why the health benefits are for eating local?
Absolutely.
What the health benefits are?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. So really, we need to consider the time when the vegetables are actually, let me start again. If the vegetables and fruits are coming from overseas, for example, from exotic countries, really they are being picked when they are not ripened. They're actually picked in their kind of green stage. And we can see that on bananas. Bananas, when they're actually arriving here, they're completely green. So you need to leave them on the counter for a week or two until actually getting ripened. So really the benefit of eating local is that you got everything at its ripest, and when the nutritional benefits of the foods are at their highest.
True.
So really, just to make it simple, this is the case.
Go on. And what about the regional aspect of it? What I mean by that is if I'm living in Hungary, so if I'm eating Hungarian local foods where I live, then that's relative to what my body needs because of where I'm living. Is that much of a factor for you as well?
Absolutely, I think it makes much of the sense. So you should actually eat closest to where your ancestry actually comes from. It does not make much of the sense if I am originally from Slovakia, living now in UK, and I will actually be reaching out for some exotic fruits like pineapples. First of all, I think most of us, if we have that developed sense of our body, when we know how to listen to our body, the body actually asks for what it wants in terms of nutrition. So I never crave exotic fruits. Obviously, when I go, let's say, for holidays to exotic country, I stick with what they grow over there. I will not be, craving things which are not growing in the country just purely because I am used to them on a daily basis. So, I think that's a very good question, actually, really, like in regards to regionality, eat where you are in the country. However, sometimes when we are, people are getting sick and tired, and sometimes they're kind of searching for the right nutrition for themselves. And sometimes really we need to think in terms of, okay, so let's look at the ancestry. So if you are from, perhaps let's just take the Europe. If you are from European countries and you're eating most of the Asian foods and something doesn't really work for you in the body, just try to reconsider really from the basics, where can you actually reach? Like, where can you go back? Think of your ancestry, what your parents and grandparents actually have been eating or ate when they've been growing up.
Oh, I'm messed. I'm messed. I'm from South Africa, but my ancestry is from Ireland and England. So it's either potatoes or fish and chips.
Right.
You're just confused.
My South African, I get that South African taste for food. So,
right. I hear you. I mean, obviously, if you feel good, if you do not have any particular health problems, I think you can definitely go with it, that you can have the mixture. To get South African food here, yes, you can. However, I don't think that you want to do that because of the miles where the vegetables actually travel, so they are sitting. Often, I've been reading the other day an article that often actually fruits which comes from abroad, it's sitting in the warehouses from 3 up to 10 months, and just then it's getting displayed, so would you want to do that if you actually know already this kind of knowledge? Perhaps you're going to rethink, and you're really going to reach rather for the local.
And you'll be able to taste the difference as well.
That's a big thing, that is.
Yeah, I live in Hungary, and if I buy South African fruits, which is very seldom, I might buy a pear from South Africa if I see it, or we have the mandarin. We call it slightly different. We call it an archie. Yeah. You can taste the difference.
100%, because they're not ripening. They're ripening during the transport, so it's completely different as something is ripening under the sun, isn't it?
I think that's a big lesson for most of us.
Yes, and we need to get back to it.
I must admit, I like going places where, number one, I know the people. You're supporting local people, and you're supporting the local economy as well, which is another sort of a part of it. And I just find things appear to be fresher, especially vegetables and fruit. But my big concern has always been the organic. Because when we used to go and live in France, most of everything is organic. But over here, it appears that it's completely the opposite. There doesn't seem to be too much organic stuff here. And when you do get it, it's extremely expensive. So how long would it take them to switch to become organic again? It would take years, wouldn't it?
That's a concern, I think, of many. I grew up in a village of 1,000 people, and the food, which we call the food that time, now people call organic.
Yeah.
So as sad as it is, this is the reality. And sometimes people ask me like, there is no difference between organic and regular fruits or vegetables. I mean, they look the same, and I cannot taste the difference very much. Yet I say, just because you cannot taste the difference very much, it does not mean that you should actually eat it if your wallet allows you. And they are not. Here is the thing: like the organic foods, whether it is fruits or vegetables, let's call them foods. They are more nutritious. So in the long run, really, you need less amount as to compare with when you're eating non-organic, because they have they have more nutrients. And the other article I've been actually reading about organic and non-organic. So yes, it's a concern about the pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, and all of these sites. Even organic produce is sprayed. However, I believe there is only 7 to 9 detected pesticides on organic produce to compare to about 300 with a commercial one. So where is the difference? I know that people cannot really see those pesticides, or they say, I have spit out. So it's not visible really, but you can feel it in your body. So, and also here is the thing, I don't really I don't really recommend to people like you have to always reach for organic. But what I say is have a look at the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen, it's a list which every country should have. It comes from, it's a non-governmental site really, but they are having a list of fruits and vegetables which are the most and the least safe. So the most sprayed and the least sprayed. Number 1 fruit, which is the most sprayed in United Kingdom, are Royal Gala apples.
Yeah, apples. Yeah,
you always wanted organic. The same thing goes for strawberries. And it's really very rare where I can see in supermarkets organic strawberries. Here is another thing. The other day, somebody told me that in Aldi, they actually knew someone who is actually buyer for Aldi and Lidl. And they said like they have their like really beautiful organic, almost everything is organic there. Yes. However, no, not organic. I apologize. Local. So they're using the local food. And I say, yes, however, make sure that you actually do speak to the farmers and ask them whether they are using the pesticides and herbicides, because still local and organic is a big difference. So, during the summer, you're traveling across the country and you see in a small lanes, people are selling their fruits and vegetables, which they actually, growing at home. So strawberries are one case. Then plums are quite often found, cherries. But are these cherries really that organic part, or are they sprayed, or are they not?
It's quite a loose term nowadays, isn't it? I mean, organic is not as organic as it's like with chicken that's free range chicken. It doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy chicken because it's free range.
Yeah, it means you need grass fed chickens, don't you? Is it grass-fed?
Yeah. Well, I think grass-fed or grass-fed.
Or a herb-fed. Yeah, absolutely. The other day, I actually came across a herb-fed chicken, and it's definitely healthier than when you have a corn-fed chicken.
Oh, yes.
Example, Course. So you don't really want a grain, you rather want like real herbs. So when you imagine that the chickens normally would 50 years ago perhaps, or in the countryside really, what they are growing or what they're eating, they are always on the fields, and they just finding little bits and pieces. So they are more like grown on herbs, not really the corn.
No, well, in any case, corn is not really digestible for us either.
I don't eat corn, so
yeah. Okay. Good for you.
I eat everything else. No, I'm only joking. I don't. All right. Yeah. So I mean, what would you call real food? Would you call that organic, or would you call that local, or
real food? Organic, local, and seasonal.
Yeah.
That will be the real food. Really the closest to the Mother Nature as it just can get. So, for example, if I go to the farm, I can talk to farmer. I can ask how they treat their vegetables, whether they're what they're using, for the spray, whether they're spraying or not. These days, it's very difficult to do not spray, of course, as well, So I think it's very good to know where your food comes from. And the only way how you're going to know, you just need to talk. It's definitely much better farmer's market than a supermarket, 100%. Even if it doesn't say the label organic, I will always go for it. Because the farmer's market, they need to actually be, they have certifications, their food needs to meet certain parameters. So they're not going to sell you something that you will actually find in a supermarket, for example, or on a high street somewhere.
And
so
even a butcher in a supermarket is not necessarily going to know all the information relating to that food that is coming in there, because they're not the buyer. And they don't know who the middleman is as such. So there was a question I had in mind to answer Paul's question about organic farming. The way I see it is that in order to get back to that, living in Hungary, a lot of the farms here are natural. We get our vegetables once a week from a local farm on the island here, and it's fantastic. We go to the farm from time to time, and we've helped out once, but we can see what they're doing in the farm. And I think in order to get back to that farming of organic vegetables and fruits is going to take generations.
Of course.
And it's not just from a political or geopolitical perspective. I think even if there was a decision made today, the soil is so depleted of nutrients that it's going to take generations in order for that soil to be.
That's what I asked earlier, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there's no biodiversity anymore. There's zero biodiversity. All the animals have been chased away. So there's nothing going on in that soil. It's literally there.
And I completely agree with you. And yet another question, which would be of my concern, is like who is going to actually work on those those fields? There is not that many people who are interested anymore, because convenience is the key here. So I really appreciate people who are actually coming back from their traditional 9-to-5 jobs and pursuing a career in growing, let's say farming, or just being growers. Yes. First of all, it's not so stressful. I think many people are seeking, there are a lot of people who are seeking really just the fame and career. Nothing wrong with that. But many people are already tired and are seeking more relax and more kind of escape to the nature. And I think it's very, what would be the word for it? Very therapeutical, if I may say like that, to really work on the farm or just really grow your own vegetable. You know what you're eating.
And these little co-op arrangements that you get, I know they exist in the UK. They exist here. They exist in many cities nowadays as well, on the rooftops of buildings. These little co-op, growing fields, and I think that also gets people back into that natural way of, and then they want to explore how to grow more foods.
Absolutely,
it's a great.
Years ago, people used to eat something like 7,000 or 8,000 calories a day. And you can only do that if you were buying organic, because you couldn't do that now because of consumer demand with supermarkets and that. You're just buying packaged food and processed foods and things like that.
So true, Paul. And also I think it's very important here to point on that, as you mentioned, like many years ago. So many years ago, people actually used to eat much more diverse food. On average, about 30 different variations, different foods, whether it is fruit or vegetable or greens, a week. Now we are down to 7.
Yeah.
So there are not, even when you're actually coming even to the local farmers market or to supermarket, there is no 30 of different variety of the foods which you can actually physically take home and cook from them. It's just the variety which just like coming down very much. I think they are, for example, when it comes to, let's say, grains, like these days I can see around pretty much like, okay, rice, maybe pear barley, bulgur, amaranth, but there are no Asian grains anymore. Somehow they're disappearing. So why not to bring them back? Why not to have a look really, or have the conversation with, hopefully, people still have grandparents, and really ask like what they've been growing on, what they've been cooking, what was the staple of their diet. And if they will be already those people who are actually, who are perhaps their diversity wasn't very wild because they didn't have the money to buy things. So what did they grow? What was the staple what they grew, And really just try to diversify a little bit. I think that's the key where we need to come back. Because as per the soil, as per the soil, what you mentioned, like it's completely depleted in magnesium. So no matter whether you buy organic, you still know that you're not getting what you would get 50 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's sitting on the shelves for so long, as you say.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a vicious circle, isn't it?
It is very difficult to get out of it.
Well, I just think that I think probably our food policies and production practices need a lot of improving. That's my thought on it. I don't know what you think.
It's happening. I think it's happening on a global scale, slowly but surely. Farmers are slowly forcing controlling bodies to change the way they look at things, because they are themselves making the decision to take certain actions, and then they're proving that it's still applicable even with so many people and so much demand.
Yes.
They're creating new methods of farming that are able to cope with the demand, but it's much healthier, and it goes back to that diversity. It's the diversity in the soil, it's the diversity in the vegetables that they're growing, and it's starting to show. And I think because of this, these controlling bodies and governments are going to be eventually seeing the light, maybe,
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, definitely the movement is there. It is still kind of a small percentage of people who are involved in this and who are really searching or seeking smaller farmers' foods. It perhaps gonna take much, difficult to say like how long, but a long time. As you said at the very beginning, perhaps like generation or even 2, because it's almost like when you have a political system, like if you are actually getting into the political system, if you are trying to establish within the countries, it takes certain generations. And then through the generations, they kind of have it in their heads, almost brainwashed kind of, if we can say. And then it takes really long time to get new ideas and to get people believe that there are different ways which might be better. So it is a long time. However, hopefully it's coming. You know, I think we are on the best way. I mean, we are doing what we can.
Yeah, because there's more and more GMO foods, isn't there? So now.
Yeah, luckily it's not that bad over here than in the United States, but yes, there is many of GMOs.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say like nothing wrong with that. They're just injecting what you need for your body. But I'm just, oh really? let's don't get there. I think it's a topic for another conversation.
Yeah, another day.
Yes.
Completely. Yeah, that could take.
Well, I just think there's a not, I wouldn't say total lack of integrity with our food, but very close to it. You know, and I just think that, you know, now they talk about diets of less than 2,500 calories a day, and you know, when people go on diets and things like that, they go down to 1,000 or 1,500 calories a day. You know, it's
I think
it's fine if the quality is superb. That's fine, but they're not.
Yes, and we should also get kind of away from counting the calories.
Because absolutely. No,
counting calories doesn't make sense for me whatsoever, because if you have I don't know, what is it, double Big Mac or whatever it might be, really, you know, it's full of calories, but it's so empty calories. So I think that we didn't count calories 100 years ago. Why would we start now? Why are we actually looking at the caloric number, or what the word would be for it, you know, caloric value? And that's not what is important. Also, I think we need a change in labeling. You know, on the local apple from the farmer, you do not have there written how much of the protein, fat, and carbohydrate it contains, you know, because every single apple is different. So, yeah, I think we need to wake up.
All that, you know, there's a saying about too much information can really dull the mind. You know, it can,
but not with labels,
dead in the brain. But it's creating an atmosphere where people are becoming anal retentive about it. And they're focusing so much on that they're not thinking about the bigger picture. They're not thinking about really just what we're talking about now. Just keep it simple, keep it local, keep it raw when you can. You know, that's because they're looking at labels too much and they're focusing on what's not important. And this is the distraction that I believe these companies want us to be distracted by. They want us to be distracted by the labels.
To be lazy.
So we're not, we're not thinking for ourselves. We're thinking based on what they're feeding us. Excuse that analogy, but that's where
it's interesting that sometimes in the supermarkets you have actually a label healthy foods.
Yes.
What is the rest of the supermarket then?
Unhealthy.
Really? So and it's the healthy foods. It's always really just a small portion of the store.
It's like going to a doctor and they have a shelf for clean and safe medication.
Yes.
What's the rest of the stuff you're feeding me?
And healthy foods are most of the time without labels. Because it's just Mother Nature intended, isn't it?
True.
Yes. And of course, you know, there are other healthy foods which are already products. But here there is another kind of concern and yet another conversation, probably the labeling. Large corporations have kind of injected us with belief that whatever they put on the label, it's what we need to actually look at and determine according to that whether it's healthy or not. How many people do understand labels these days? Even though when you're I read the label, I can understand the label. How many people do? Not many. People think that they eat healthily, yet when you look at the ingredients, that's what I often do with my clients. They think, I eat healthy. I do this, dairy-free yogurt. Which one? Show me the picture. Let's look at it together. Let's look at the ingredients. And then the first ingredient in a yogurt, white one, for example, is sugar. And then plenty of other fillers. So
I listened to some the other day, and they said, take a look at the first 4 or 5 ingredients on the label, and that will give you a big clue as to how many sugars are in it. And if you read down, they don't have sugar in one place; they have it in several places.
Yes,
They disguise it, yeah.
They disguise. Well, they don't even have to disguise it. It's just so much information on there.
Well, that's how they disguise it. It's because that's what I was alluding to. It's the influx of information. We're told to look at all this information, and it becomes too much for the average person.
Like because there's hundreds of names for sugar.
Yes, it is. You're right, but I would say like this: if you do not really understand what the ingredients means, if you know that if you take that one ingredient out and you would never buy it on its own, it means you should not buy that food. Because first of all, you don't know what it means.
Well said. Yeah.
You don't even know like what to do with it. Would your grandma actually know what to do with it? Would she even understand? No. So that's a simple rule, you know. If you do not know what does it mean, don't buy it. It means it's not good for you.
I think for most people these days, you have to say your great grandmother, because it's coming to the point now where the grandmothers were feeding them microwave meals. So
that's a good one. Yes, you're right.
Or distant relative.
Yes, absolutely.
Your ancestors.
I'm kind of thinking of my grandmother, because my grandmother, bless her, would be 96 years old now, you know.
Yeah. So she would have been a true example of that expression. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you a question. Do you encourage people to change their buying habits?
Do I encourage people to change their buying habits? I think it's the number one awareness which needs to be raised. One step at a time, obviously, and perhaps it's not even about the change, but to understand their choices. Because I don't encourage people to change. I think, you know, if somebody don't want to, you can encourage them as much as you can, and they will want. But to make them to understand their choice, to know that they have choice either. And when they can actually choose, it cannot seem that they did the decision by themselves. They have not been pushed. So yes, I think to change the eating habits is the number one awareness which should be raised, because in that way you know what you're actually getting. You know, if you understand already whether you have the healthier option, why wouldn't you go for it? You know, it's gonna make you only feel better, not worse at all. So,
this is the other flip side of that coin, is that, you know, we were touching on earlier on about, you taste the difference in organic food, right?
Yeah.
We may, but the average person, I don't think, has a clue as to what food really tastes like. And it's because their taste buds are so impacted by all the stuff that they're eating, you know, those labels on those foods, you know, they're killing the taste buds. So they don't really understand what something really tastes like.
You're so right. So I grew up on a pretty healthy foods.
Yeah.
When I came here to London, I've been working across the hospitality, and from one day to another, literally, I became raw vegan for 2 years. That was an experiment for me. I really cannot tell how after a couple of months, and I did not have the bad taste buds, because I never ate really like microwave food or junk food, but how much the taste bud actually changed. So you are completely right. Now you actually kind of reminded me to bring up one story. When during the winter, we like to go and buy sourdough on a farmer's market. Not very much during the summer, but during the winter is more like kind of comfort food, you know. So sometimes from time to time, we get some good quality sourdough. There is this lovely girl who is selling the sourdough. And the other day she was, I'm kind of talking to her, you know, like what is she up to in her life and so on. And so she got married, and it was from another country, her partner. And so she went to visit his parents for the first time. And because we like to talk very much, she was saying to me that she's looking really forward to the food. So when she came back, I was asking her the questions, you know, like, how was it and how was the food? She was just like, oh my gosh, horrible. I was like, what do you mean? Everything fresh, you know? And she's like, yeah, horrible, because everything is cooked from scratch. I don't get used to it. This girl is 23 years old. She said, I never ate the food which is cooked from scratch. Yeah. I'm grown up on the junk food. So for me, like, it was so difficult. Everything changed. Everything tasted so like different. She was there for 3 months. She said, like, just really by the 3rd month, I could so enjoy some of the foods. It was heartbreaking.
Shame it took that long.
Well, the classic thing was, I can't even remember who I was talking to, was about, I mean, I've mentioned it before, about Doritos. Doritos have 3 food scientists that are specifically there to make sure you eat Doritos.
Yeah.
And they'll do anything they can to make you eat Doritos, and it doesn't have to be healthy.
It's exactly the same with Pringles.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah. It might have been Pringles, actually, not Doritos. But what I'm saying is, when you're fighting a losing battle, because when you're dealing with children and adults, but children especially, you want them to eat as healthy as you possibly can, but they've got these 3 different scientists hitting them with all different things to make them crave more of Pringles and Doritos and things like that.
They play with the taste buds everywhere across the tongue, so they can actually hit all of your taste buds.
Yeah.
Because some people are gonna have, they're gonna be more prone to, let's say, salty, some to sweet, some to savory. So yeah, they pretty much.
And even your digestive enzymes, Kristina.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
They're even impacting your digestive enzymes by what they're putting in the food.
Yeah, they're engineering the food. That would be the perfect way. And when you mentioned the digestive enzyme, thanks that you actually did. When we can actually kind of wrap it and go back through our conversation when we're talking about the local and seasonal, it's very, very advisable really to eat the food, so majority, quite a big portion of our food in the raw state.
Yeah.
Fruits most of the time, even though sometimes, there are exemptions, like perhaps when you have a cooked applesauce.
Of course.
It just works a little bit different. You are releasing the apple pectins. It's good. If it's not cooked with the sugar, it's pretty much traditional food. That will be the word for it. So yet, however, when we are born with a certain amount of the enzymes.
Mm-hmm.
And all the raw foods, they contain enzymes. Enzymes are diminished or killed, really, when we are cooking the food above it's 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, or 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's 100 Fahrenheit, I think it was, isn't it? Round about that. And about 80, what was it?
No, it's just over 100.
Between 40 and 48 centigrade, I think it was.
No. Oh. The centigrade is definitely over 100 centigrade, and in Fahrenheit is, I think, 212. If we're talking about raw food diet as a movement, they say anything that is cooked above 43 degrees, it's starting to kill the raw enzymes. That's a little bit different story, though. Yeah. So when you, basically, as I mentioned, like when you're born with certain enzymes. And even if you eat cooked foods, those foods, when they're going through the digestive system, they're actually making you for your body to create enzymes, or not create, but use the enzymes. But the enzymes which are used are from that bank which you got since you are born. So when you're born, you're getting the bank which is supposed to last the whole life. So when you're eating the foods which are raw fruits, raw vegetables, then you are actually getting that proper injections of the raw enzymes to your body. Your life, eventually it's finishing when your body is deplenished of the enzymatic activity.
I've also read that they say that our digestive system, our acids in our body, actually basically, there's a different word that they use for it. I can't think of what it is now, but it's like not deconstruct, but it's something else. Those enzymes, in any case. So because like you said, the body has the enzymes to digest.
Yeah.
So the body, with the acids in the digestive tract, and that actually breaks those enzymes down, so they don't have as much of an impact as people think that they do.
Absolutely.
I don't know about yeah. Okay.
And as we are growing, as we are getting older, so most of the generation really over 50s, they are advisable to take the plant-based enzymes with the food. And it's really simple, because you just basically take an enzyme, open the encapsulation, and just sprinkle it on the food. So that's what helps the enzymatic function to digest your food better. Because as we age, the enzymes are getting lower and lower, obviously.
Sure.
If we have a bank at the beginning of the life, then we don't have the bank, or it's deplenished when we're dying. So yeah, I think it's very advisable to just take the good quality digestive enzymes with especially more complex meals. So whether it's meat or when we have something which is like really all the plate, everything on the plate is cooked.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that's really impacted by your body's really impacted, like when you're eating a complex meal, like a meat with a starch, for example, which is digesting at different rates in the body. So then the enzymes are definitely impacted, right?
Yes, absolutely. And let's keep the meat and the starch to the lowest or to the more rare, and let's eat with vegetables, or really leafy greens. Let's just kind of help to the digestion to function really optimally.
I think that's a good place to stop. That was succinct. That was to the point. Thank you.
So let's just sum up then. So we eat local for quite a few reasons. One of the things about eating local was I was thinking about honey. That was where it first came to the forefront for me when they said eat local honey.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
a local environment.
Travel.
Yeah. And raw, what you gave me the other day when I came round.
Yeah, I gave you raw apple pie. How was it?
Yeah, it was different. It was so tasty. It was you wondered what taste you were going to get next. It was like a puzzle. It was.
Yes. You see, this is quite funny when I give to people to try a raw cake.
Yeah.
And they got used to the spongy cakes full of flour. They don't know what to say because really you feel the light.
It's totally different. You can't compare the two.
Yes, and yet still one is playing on your senses with the sugar and the flour, and it's kind of releasing these endorphins because that's what you get used to. So it's rushing into your head, and you just feel so good. It's like opiates. And then the raw unprocessed cakes, they're just giving you life. You feel energetic, so all of a sudden you can actually go for a run after you eat a cake, whether you can go to sleep on the sponge cake.
Now, you also gave me coffee. Now, what was the coffee again?
Coffee was just like organic coffee, but
okay.
it was with a blend of the mushrooms as well.
Oh, that's really good.
Okay.
And also, you gave me, instead of giving me sweetener or sugar, you gave me raw honey.
Yes, and you also gave milk.
I didn't realise how good it was, but because I just drank it as normal, as if I'd been putting sugar in it.
Yeah, and you had the hemp milk, didn't you? And it was local.
Yeah. So there's a lot for people to play about with and get to know new things. Yeah. So it's about variety. It's about trying different things and try and go as local, as natural, as seasonal if you can do it, and as raw as you can do it.
Yeah, back to the roots.
Yeah,
back to the roots.
Absolutely,
back to the roots. Well said.
No.
And Kristina, if anybody wants to find out more from you, where can they get hold of you?
Sure. So I can be actually reached on either my Facebook profile, which is Kristina Jatiova, Jatiova, or on my website, kristinajatiova.com. If there is a case of social medias, again, my name and surname is the one.
Good.
And if you need spelling, we'll have it on this as well. So you can just look on our Facebook page and they can see the spelling of the.
It's Jatiova.
It's a little bit tricky, yes.
So with that, I mean, I think you could sit here all day and talk about different things to do with this, and we will come back and revisit at some stage. But thank you very much for coming on and talking to us and giving us a taste of what it's like to maybe eat differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
I think it's a good start, so thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic. All right,
great. For the viewers, Paul, just to quickly, for the viewers' sake, is whatever you've learned and heard from Kristina today is, if you're practicing anything of what we've spoken about, then share that with us, because you're our viewers, you engage with us, but we don't know everything about you yet. So just let us know, if you're engaging with your farmers, your local farmers, if these are the practices that that you're going about your daily, your weekly, and so forth, then give us that feedback. And if there's any other insights that we've spoken about that we could dovetail off, then again, give us some more feedback on that. We'd love to hear more. Challenge us on what we've been speaking about.
Sounds good. Yeah, really challenge me. I need it. So, all right, let's we call it a day. Thank you very much again, Kristina. Thanks, Warren, and we'll speak to you. We're back next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, next Wednesday for healthierlife.tv, because we did a switch for this Wednesday. So
back to the usual schedule.
Back to the usual schedule next week. So fantastic. Thank you very much, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks,
see you later.
Kristina. Cheers, Paul.
Bye.
Bye.